Nostalgia is a powerful thing. The current time travel arc in Boruto has been getting a lot of attention, and the past few years have seen tons of new anime adapting old manga. All of these are made to draw in new fans, but also recapture the viewers who love the source material. But it's not just revivals of old properties that can give an audience that feeling. Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun is not a remake, and the manga it's adapted from only started 2 years ago. It's as polished and new as these things get, and made for a young audience who doesn't have nostalgia for, well, anything yet. But watching it still feels like a nostalgia rush while it's also a fresh new story. The art style is the first thing you might notice. It's not a complete throwback, it's polished and modern and in high definition naturally, but the style is very reminiscent of the late 90s and early 2000s, all sharp and pointed and bright and energetic, with silly faces and art style shifts. It's a lot of fun. And the story takes elements you've seen before and continually makes them seem interesting, even if they look familiar. Suzuki Iruma, a neglected child who's eager to please, is sold off to a demonic noble named Sullivan by his garbage parents who have always taken advantage of him. But instead of eating him or enslaving his soul, the demon adopts him, enrolls him in demon school, and sets off a chain of events that leave Iruma gaining power and attention he didn't want, and hinting that Sullivan is plotting to make Iruma the next Demon King. The show mixes all of these familiar elements together for a unique story with a sometimes very different tone. Iruma-kun has been frequently compared to shows like Rosario to Vampire, Actually I Am, and Hayate the Combat Butler for their plot similarities, but with one very noticeable exception. Those series' jiggles and panty shots have flown the coop. This is Hiroaka's shonen, not Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs shonen. And while there are a lot of great female characters in Babbles who take the stage in the show's ED, it's not a harem either. Remixing old ideas into something new is what storytelling is. And while I laid into Project Sakai Colorful Stage last week, Iruma-kun is more than original enough to be a fun throwback rather than a by-the-numbers clone. Let's talk about how it uses stock shonen themes, specifically the power of friendship, because yeah, that's a thing. Iruma tries not to stand out, and he makes all of his friends sort of by accident, and he's not very experienced with making friends because he never got to go to school and his parents forced him to work instead. But despite this, Iruma ends up with a solid group of friends because he's just not a demon, even if he's pretending to be one. Demons don't have the same concept of friendship. As figured, being defeated by Iruma after picking a fight with him meant he had to be his servant, and Clara assumed that the way her old friend group used her and talked behind her back was how things were normally. But once Iruma convinces them he doesn't actually want anything from them, they become his close supporters and the one thing he likes about this messed up school. And yes, friendship actually is powerful and makes demons stronger when they start to open up to it. That and the mysterious healing property of human blood sow some interesting theories about why Sullivan wanted Iruma in the first place. What's also good about the show, and tying into the friendship bit, is how Iruma's past isn't just the usual, my old life sucked anyway, of modern isekai, but it also informs all of his personality traits. He's a pushover, eager to please, and has turned avoiding confrontation into an actual martial art. And while we don't see much of his parents or hear about them that often, the way they treated him left an impression we can see from things like how he eats a lot when presented with free food because he's eating while he can. This isn't the raw, painfully real portrayal of an abused kid we find in Stars Align. After all, Iruma-kun is a shonen comedy, and Iruma starts the series being pulled out of the frying pan. But just because he isn't with his parents anymore doesn't mean everything is wonderful, and he's terrified of what awaits him in Makai and just wants to keep his head down. Unfortunately, but also fortunately, everything around Iruma is conspiring to drag him into the spotlight. The rest of the show's characters are also a lot of fun, and they contribute to the series' throwback feel, even the minor characters, using archetypes that were popular around the turn of the millennium. Aside from the main trio, we've got the arrogant warrior guy with no common sense, the mature and confident student council girl with a secret passion, the quiet background girl pining for the main character when he doesn't even know she exists, and the teacher who berates all his students but especially resents Iruma for stuff his new grandfather did. And that's just the start, because the entire school is full of fun and unique characters with standout designs. Anyone could join the main cast, or at least do something fun and entertaining to contribute once in a while. Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun is getting forgotten, with 6 other isekai running this season, as well as multiple shonen series that were already popular getting more content. But it's an entertaining nostalgia trip in the best way, and if any of this sounds like fun to you, you ought to check it out. Let me know in the comments whether you're watching Iruma-kun, and for that matter, what else you're watching this season. While you're here, you might have noticed that Taser Lads started a campaign to raise money for the Animator Dormitory project this month under the hashtag AnyTubeDoesn'tSuck. Check out the link in the description if you want to donate to support the project to get underpaid animators housing because they deserve it. And since the hashtag is AnyTubeDoesn'tSuck, I'm opening up a poll where you can choose the topic of my next old school anime retrospective from a selection of anime that, by many accounts, do suck. I'm donating to the project and I hope you will too if you can. This is Secret Identity Studio, and please don't try this at home.